Hello everybody. We here at North Central Television are happy to bring you our monthly recipe segment. It's hard to believe, but we've been doing this an incredible 8 years now. However, this month we're doing things a little bit differently. This month, Kelly Burgess will be flying solo, as we say, because the University of Kentucky is currently allowing only its employees inside its buildings, and I am not an employee of the University of Kentucky, and we tape our segments at the UK Extension Office in Scottsville. Kelly, though, does a great job, and now here's Kelly with more on this month's recipe.
Thanks, Barry. I'm sorry that we can't be together in person, but we still are so excited to bring an awesome recipe today. We are making a recipe called Noodles Florentine. And so this is actually a recipe, it reminds me a little bit of mac and cheese from what you'll see me doing over here in this pan. But of course we are adding in some Kentucky Proud vegetables, which today we're using spinach. Spinach is in season in early spring in Kentucky, and so we have spinach ready to go. So our other ingredients that we have whole wheat egg noodles, we have diced cooked ham, we have breadcrumbs, and then over here we'll be making more of the sauce for the mixture. So we have shredded low-fat cheddar cheese, skim milk, whole wheat flour, and black pepper. So as we get started, I have already started to melt butter in this pan, so that is really your first step that you want to do. And as you'll notice, we have cooked our noodles and we have cooked our spinach ahead of time. And so those are steps that you can do in advance before you go ahead and start with the rest of your recipe. So the first step, once your butter is melted, is we are going to add 4 tablespoons of whole wheat flour and stir it into the butter continuously. So this is going to act as our thickening agent. What we're really making here is a sauce that we will end up pouring over the rest of our mixture. So this gets very crumbly and thick really quickly. So once that has absorbed in, we're going to go ahead and add our 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Add that to our pan. And we're going to gradually add our milk. So I like to do this in about 3 segments. And so we have a total of 2 cups of milk, just to give you an idea of what kind of amounts we're working with. And it's really important to stir this continuously. You don't want it to get too hot or for the milk to curdle, but what we're watching for is for it to thicken up here in this pan. So we want to stir it consistently. I'm using a wooden spoon. I also have a whisk here, which will come in handy a little bit later on when we start to add our cheese. But while we're talking, I'll just say a little bit more about our Kentucky Proud spinach. As you'll notice, I have 2 different kinds of spinach here. And so I have some uncooked spinach and then some cooked spinach. For this recipe, if you don't have, this is thickening up, so I'm going to go ahead and add my second little bit of milk here. If you don't have fresh spinach, you can also use frozen spinach or canned spinach. So you'll notice that the amount looks a lot different between this big bowl and this little bowl, but it is truly about the same amount of spinach. So this recipe calls for 10 ounces, and that's a measurement by weight. So you can look at your frozen spinach package or your can, or if you purchase spinach, it might be sold by the weight, and so you'll be able to tell pretty easily that way. So as I mentioned, it's 10 ounces of spinach, and what we're going to be doing with it is mostly a layering type of activity. So as we make our sauce, I'll kind of talk you through what the rest of the recipe has in store. We have our casserole dish already greased, and we will be adding our egg noodles, our ham, and our spinach in layers. And so this is a fun recipe that you can do, you can involve kids in. It's really easy. And this skill of making just a plain cheese sauce to pour over the top is something great that can be used for other recipes as well. This is thickening up really nicely today. Spinach is a great vegetable. Of course, we know that the leafy greens are good for us. They have a lot of vitamin C, a lot of iron, and also a good amount of vegetable protein. And so having spinach cooked is a great way to, I'm going to go ahead and start to add my cheese. So we're going to do the same thing with the cheese, just add it in little by little so that it melts and thickens. Spinach is a great vegetable to sneak into dishes. if you will. The flavor is actually very mild. And so if you have kiddos that aren't super wild about vegetable flavors, spinach is something that you can easily put into a baked pasta dish. You can put it on top of pizza, you can add it to a sandwich, or even in a smoothie. And while it might make your smoothie look a little bit green, I promise you will not taste the spinach if you mix it in with banana or pineapple or any other kinds of those yummy fruits that kids do like. So as you can see, our mixture is starting to thicken up a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some more cheese. This is the good stuff here. So we're just gonna stir this continually. And like I said, you might find a whisk to be helpful. Depending on how quickly your cheese is melting, it could get tangled around the whisk, which is what happened to me when I tried it out the first time. So that's why I'm using a wooden spoon right now. So as I mentioned, just to go over ingredients again, we had 2 cups of skim milk, we had 2 cups of low-fat cheddar cheese, and then the amounts of what we're going to be doing with our pasta is 1 pound, 8 ounces of whole wheat egg noodles. So that you can tell by your package weight as well. Sometimes pasta is a little bit difficult to measure. The package that I bought was a 16-ounce package, and so it was easy for me to find 8 ounces because I just divided it in half. So if you have kids in the kitchen who are helping you at home these days, kitchen and cooking time can often be a great time to sneak in a little math lesson as well. We have 1.5 cups of the diced cubed ham, and then the 10 ounces of spinach, as I mentioned. And those breadcrumbs, it calls for 1/4 cup, but truly we're just gonna be topping our mixture with those breadcrumbs. So whatever amount you feel that you need to cover your pan. The recipe recommends using a 2-quart a pan to hold your mixture. While that melts just a little bit more, I'm gonna go ahead and get started with our layering. So I've greased my pan already, so that's important to note. And I'm gonna put in half of my egg noodles. So this won't be a super thick layer of pasta. We really just want it to cover the bottom of the pan. So it's okay if there's kind of some spaces where it looks like things could seep through. That is 100% okay. Our noodles like to get a little sticky when we drain them, so we'll just kind of move them around and cover the bottom of the pan the best that we can. Next, we're gonna add our spinach. Once again, we wanna add about half of the spinach that we have cooked. And so we're gonna do each of these layers twice, which is why I'm saying to use half of them. So we just want to distribute that around our pasta. Get all of that yummy spinach in there. Spinach is super easy to cook. If you do buy a frozen bag, you can simply microwave it. You can also cook it on the stove top, boiling it that way. All right, so we've put out about half of our spinach. Ooh. Next, we'll add our ham. So I'm just gonna disperse half of our ham around our pasta bake. All right, and I'm gonna take this time to go ahead and check in on our cheese sauce, which is melting very nicely. We are gonna go ahead and add half of this cheese sauce over our mixture. So if you have one of those pans that has a little pour spout, that can be really handy. I'm gonna do my best just to pour it from here. So you can see it is cheesy, but that's what we want. That's what makes it taste good. So we are gonna just layer that over our dish. Try not to make too big of a mess, but sometimes it is inevitable. That cheese likes to come along with it. That's okay, we'll get back to that eventually. All right, we're gonna add the rest of our egg noodles into our dish, layering those. We always have a couple that just get away. Alrighty. So we're done with our pasta. We're gonna go ahead and add the rest of our spinach. I'm so excited to try this recipe. It smells amazing while it is baking. And you can always add in different vegetables as well. If you had some tomatoes that you wanted to add, you could do that. You could add in, you could even use different greens if you didn't have spinach. I'm sure that kale would probably taste great as well. Any other kinds of greens that might be growing in your garden this time of year. Okay, so we're done with our spinach. We're gonna add our last bit of cubed ham on top. Looks so good. All right, you can just kind of use your tongs or your spoon to spread that around to make sure we have all even pieces. And then we are gonna add the last bit of our cheese sauce. So it's okay, I think I have maybe a little bit more than half of it left, but that's all right because it will be able to seep down throughout our whole casserole dish. Wanna cover that? Awesome. Okay, our last step, don't forget to turn off your hot burner. Our last step is to cover the top with our breadcrumbs. So we're just gonna simply sprinkle those over the top of our mixture. Alrighty, and we are gonna put this in our oven at 350 degrees for a total of 25 minutes. And so that will just allow it to bake through all those flavors to mingle together. So as Barry always says, this recipe is oh so easy to find. You can email barry.hyatt@nctc.com. You can also find the recipe at www.nctc.com. And the way that I usually tell you to find it is to Plate It Up Kentucky Proud Noodles Florentine in your search bar. You'll be able to find the recipe right away that way. And you can also find us on Facebook at Plate It Up Kentucky Proud. We hope that you take advantage of this awesome recipe and try it again at home. We'll see you again real soon.